Well, this is my first video for the year. It's a bit windy out, a little bit cold, but I said fuck it, I'm gonna go riding anyways. This is the last bike that I have left. I sold my little 250 to my friends that son's just getting ready to start riding. So I'll let them get it so that he'll have something to start out on. I sold it to them for $200, even though I paid $1,200 for it. I figured this would be a good bike for him to learn on. Yeah, I'm being nice again and letting him get over on me on the money, but you know, sometimes you gotta help poor people out. This is 2015, first time of the year. I'm out here at a church. I forgot to read what church it was, but the road I rode on out here is 200 East S. I don't know what the S stands for. Probably South, 200 South. But anyways, it's East 200 in Indiana. Earlier this year, all the power went out in my house, so I had to have my whole fuse box redone. It burned all up. That cost $1,000 something. And then the water pump quit in my basement and flooded it out. And I went with this company. I'll tell you the name of that one in a minute. And they're not a good company. I checked them out on the internet after my father had them come out and check some stuff. Anyways, they came out the first day and they pumped the water out of the basement out into the yard, which is cool with me as long as the water's out of the house. But then they left. They just left it sitting there with our pump pumping it straight out of the house into the yard instead of hooking it back up to the outgoing pipe. So they said they was going to be back tomorrow to fix it. And they came out and talked to my dad for a few minutes, is what my dad told me, because I was at work. And then they left and they didn't do anything. So my dad was waiting and waiting. So finally the next day he called and said, "Hey, what's up? How come you ain't fixing our water?" And they said, "Well, we'll be back next Wednesday. We're going to dig a trench out in your front yard. We're going to hook you up and with a good pump, and we're going to let the water drain out in the yard." And you know, they already bitch and complain at us that water runs out of our yard into theirs when it rains. So imagine what it'd be like if we were pumping water out into our yard. So I went to the hardware store because they had cut our pipe off and it was too short. They couldn't hook it back up the right way. And so I had to do it myself. And wind's blowing a lot. Let me turn here and block some of this wind. Okay, so then, so I bought a piece that would hook the pipe back up, and it cost like $2 or something. So I hooked it back up, turned the pump back on, it pumped all the water out of the basement, and it was overflowing a little bit at the very beginning, but after it got it finally pumped out, it quit overflowing. So the thing that they were going to do for $3,500 out front, pumping the water out, I did for $2 and something, and put it back like it was. The only thing that was wrong was the pump quit and unhooked itself through the pipe. So all it needed really done was just it needed new clamps hooked up to the pipe. So anyways, the name of this company is Mr. Quick Plumbing, or whatever, plumbing and heating and cooling and all that stuff they say they're supposed to do. They called themselves Mr. Quick, but they certainly wasn't getting on the job to get our stuff done. Anyways, it's in Indiana. I don't know how much around, if they're in other states or not, but I know that the one here in Indiana, their workers evidently didn't want to take us as a priority, too busy, left our basement flooded. Alright, off the bad subject and shit. Yeah, so I was trying to buy me an 850 Suzuki. I've never had it owned a Suzuki before, but I was looking on Craigslist and found this 850 Suzuki, and by the statistics that I saw in there that they were talking about, they said those old 1980s, early 80s Suzukis were actually pretty good, reliable bikes. So I wanted to get it, and they only wanted $1,200 for it, and I really wanted to ride it home, but man, it was still like snowing and cold and freezing. So I was going to get me a U-Haul and tow it home. But what ended up happening is I went to the bank, and they were $300 short in my bank account. I was going to use my tax return to pay for this, so they was $300 short on it. So I was like, well, what happened to my money that's supposed to be in the bank? I was talking to the bank people. They was like, I don't know, and I was like, well, there's supposed to be $1,300 in there. There's supposed to be $100 more, and I already had $200 in my wallet. So all I needed was $1,000 out of it, and then I needed a little bit of money for the U-Haul, and the U-Haul wasn't going to be that much, except for the price of the gas driving it. And it was about 100 miles away. That's why I couldn't ride the bike that far. I would have froze to death. I'm tough, but I ain't that tough. So I ended up not being able to get the bike because I didn't have the money. So I got pissed off, and I went to Gander Mountain. It's a place that sells hunting and camping equipment and all kinds of stuff like that, but they also sell guns. So I ended up buying something called an AM-15, and I already posted that on my YouTube account, what I ended up buying instead of the motorcycle. It's a pretty cool gun, and what I should have done is just waited and got up to a little bit more money, then maybe I could have got that bike. But I was thinking to myself, hell, I probably won't even be there by the time I get up to money. And of course it was sold already by the time I found out the money was in there. So the money did end up back in my account, because I checked it out, and there was actually another $427 that was put back in my account. I don't know if the bank people were messing around or what, but they said later on that day, the same day, there was money back in the account. Yeah, that's a shame, because I would have had me a medium-sized bike. To me, an 850 is medium-sized. You get up to 1,000 and up. To me, that's the bigger bikes. 850, I guess, ain't no little chump bike. Anyways, I wanted to try out my first Suzuki to see what it would be like. I've seen several other bikes after that, but screw it. I got this bike for now. If I want to save up the money and get me another one. Well, I hope that kid has a good time on that little 250 that I pretty much let him steal from me. Seems like the sun's kind of going down up there. I don't know if the camera can see that or not. Yeah, so I guess I ought to get back on my bike and get back home before it gets too late and starts getting cold again. Yeah. It starts getting colder later on at night. I like to ride way out here in the country. As you can see, there's a lot of trees out here. Yeah, you know how kids are. They can be kind of mean to bikes, but I hope he takes care of it because, you know, it's kind of a rare bike. It's called the Yamaha Route 66. It was one of the smallest V-twin engines ever made. A little 250 V-twin engines on it. One of these days I'll get me a medium-sized bike and have it just in case this one or either one breaks down. You know, have me a spare one. But yeah, I've never owned a Suzuki. I had one friend that owned a Suzuki, and he crashed it and pretty much smashed it all up. I've just never owned one, but I've owned Yamahas and Kawasaki's and Honda, and so far Honda's been the best for me. Well, later on till the next video.